Fox Sports.
We are Baltimore. We are Ohio.
On a picture-perfect weather night in Chicago, welcome to T-Mobile Tuesday Night Baseball. Wrigley Field in Chicago's north side. Game 2 of the 3-game series between the Reds and the Cubbies. And look who's on the mound tonight. Trying for win number 19, Johnny Cueto. And hi again, everybody, alongside Chris Welsh and Jim Day. I'm Tom Brenneman. Delighted to have you with us on this Tuesday night. You're looking mighty dapper tonight, and certainly hoping to be quite dapper on the mound as he's been all year long, is number 47.
You know, there's a different vibe around this ball club when Johnny Cueto gets the ball. Everybody knows it. Brian Price, last night he put a lineup out there with a lot of young guys in it. Tonight, he puts out a lineup out there to try to give Johnny Cueto his best chance of winning game number 19 on the year. In his last 3 starts, man, it's hard to imagine Johnny Cueto being better than he has been. 3-0 with a 1.1 earned run average. He's not walking very many. He's striking them out. He is having some kind of a sensational year.
Same old's true for the Cub right-hander tonight.
Well, you're right, especially when you're talking about Jake Arrieta pitching here at home at Wrigley Field. He's very, very good. He's pitched one real gem against the Reds. The Reds got him last time. Pretty good. In 4 innings, they scored 6 runs against him when he pitched against the Reds in August. But 4-1 with a 1.8 earned run average and 10 home starts. He looks to be the ace of this staff going into next year. So you've got ace versus ace tonight at Wrigley Field. Watchable baseball.
So, sit back, relax, and let's get ready for Johnny Cueto. Babe Ruth back in the lineup. Starting lineups, first pitch coming up right around the corner. You're watching Reds Baseball on Fox Sports Ohio.
Cubs on Fox Sports Ohio. I'm Jim Day. Last night, yet another one-run game for Cincinnati, and this one 1-0. It's part of our Elk and Elk storylines, brought to you by Elk and Elk. Serious lawyers for serious injuries. Call 1-800-ELK Ohio. 10 games this season have ended 1-0 for the Reds, and unfortunately, they're 4-6 in those games, but it's the most by a Reds team since 1964. 6 losses by a score of 1-0. That tied for most by a Major League team since 1991 when the Cardinals had 7. And 3 losses in 1-0 games with the only run being scored by a home run. That's tied for most in Major League Baseball history, which includes Anthony Rizzo's walk-off home run last night. Reds would like to turn that around. And how about a game going away with Johnny Cueto on the hill? We'll see how it unfolds. Upstairs to Tom Brenneman and Chris Welch.
All right, Jim Day, thank you very much. We'll be looking forward to checking in with you regularly during the ball game tonight and get an update on the Joey Votto situation from earlier today. Apparently out taking a little BP. We take a look at the Reds lineup presented by Meyer. Where to be Billy Hamilton, Ryan Pena, and Todd Frazier to start it. Jay Bruce, good numbers this year against the Cubbies. Brandon Phillips and Chris Heisey. And a latter third of Ramon Santiago, Zach Cozart, Johnny Cueto, Jake Arrieta. Only a 9-game winner in 23 starts, or an 8-game winner, I beg your pardon, but he does have a very fine ERA and the opponent batting average at .217.
He's a lot like, I guess, Johnny Cueto in that respect that he does not get very much in the way of run support. His run support average is well under 4. And when you're playing with the Cubs defense and you're not getting very many runs, that's why that good earned run average does not translate into wins overall. He's got 16 quality starts of the 23 starts that he has. Pretty good. Young man that came over from the Baltimore Orioles and has had a sensational year compared to what he's done previously in the major leagues. And very tough at home, as we said in the open. Last 4 at home, he's 3-1 with a 1.6 earned run average. And pitching on a roll right now.
All right, Billy Hamilton digging in, and we are set to go. Arrieta delivers. It's in there. Steer right one, says Mike Everett. And this one underway at Wrigley Field. Pitchers duel here last night. The Cubs coming away with a 1-0 win on a game-ending home run leading off the bottom of the ninth by Anthony Rizzo. Cueto Simon. I know Jim Day had a chance to catch up with him after the game last night. Went 7 innings of 5-hit shutout baseball. 0-2 to Billy Hamilton. And that one misses off the inside corner. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Told you Mike Everett behind the plate. Toby Bassner, the umpire at first base. A crew chief is out at second tonight. That's Bill Miller. And Adrian Johnson, the umpire, down at third. Gone swinging is Hamilton, and that's the way we started. Let's take a look at the Cubbies defense behind Arrieta tonight. Brought to you by your Ford dealers. Coughlin, Caesar, Soler in the outfield. Valbuena, Baez, Watkins, and the former Red Bull Lake along the infield third to first. In a battery of Wellington, Castillo, and Arrieta. One away, and now the batter is Brian Pena. 256 hitter, 5 home runs, and 26 runs batted in. Very small crowd here at Wrigley Field tonight, as it was last night, and it's expected to be colder tonight than the brisk evening we had here for the series opener. Yesterday we had a lot of cloud cover, and it was a beautiful day today. Not a cloud in the skies above, which generally means most nights a chillier night. 95-mile-per-hour fastball, 1-2 on Pena.
Yeah, and he does that with a real easy delivery, too. That's one reason why he kind of sneaks that ball by a lot of hitters. Kind of a side saddle delivery, modified stretch. That's a bread and butter pitch right there that he missed with. That breaking ball that he bounced in front of the dirt. There's the delivery again. He's really not a whole lot to it. Simple, repeatable. Really gets his front elbow up, locks his front shoulder closed to make sure he doesn't fly open too soon. That really helps him with the curveball and helps him stay back with his fastball as well.
2-2 to Pena. And that strike 3 call, and Brian can't believe it. Thought that pitch was inside.
Really hard to tell from our angle because our our center field camera is not directly behind the pitcher's mound, but certainly on our Fox tracks, looks like it caught plenty of the plate right there. Had a little comeback action on it. That is Mike Everett behind home plate.
So Brian hoping for the same kind of calls from Everett when his man Johnny Cueto gets a ball.
Sure, really mind him.
First, yes, he will. Todd Frazier down, strike one. We'll keep you up to speed as the night goes on as to what is happening for the playoff contenders around Major League Baseball. Everybody back in action tonight after less than a handful of games in the National League last night. We can tell you the Pirates are starting a series against Boston. The Pirates out to a 2-0 lead. The Cardinals will be hosting Milwaukee in about 5 minutes from now. 2-1 to Todd Frazier. A team best 26 home runs and a team high 75 runs batted in. To wrap up the series here with yet another night game. This is so rare. Back-to-back series where the Reds have played nothing but night games at Wrigley Field. And keep in mind, it's only the fourth time ever in the history of this ballpark where they have played 3 consecutive night games. The Reds have been involved now in 2 of the 4. They remember when they were here back in the month of June. Reds have won 8 of the last 10 night games here in Chicago, and that one driven foul to remain at 2 balls and 2 strikes. In and out of the mid of Wellington Castillo. So Frazier hanging around, not making real good contact even on foul balls, but waiting for one more pitch. Like ever getting Castillo a little extra time to regroup. Not
This
sure
is
where that got him.
This is the kind of the at-bat that Frazier's having that can turn a really quick, easy inning by Arrieta into something where he's got to labor a little bit.
They went around. And Castillo will fire down to first base. And Arrieta fans aside in the top of the first inning. Johnny Cueto to the mound when we return. starting lineup tonight, presented by Meyer. Chris Coughlin, Javier Baez, and Luis Valbuena with no Mike Rizzo in a 3-hole. Soler, Castillo, Valleca in the middle, Watkins, Caesar, Arrieta, the latter third. 18-game winner, making start number 32. The numbers are mind-boggling this year for Johnny Cueto.
Yeah, they really are. I mean, everywhere you look at him, Johnny Cueto is just among the top 2 in the league. And the guy that he's looking up at right now, Clayton Kershaw, is having the kind of year that, you know, is historic.
Whacked into left field on the first pitch of the night by Coughlin.
Now, the Cubs know full well, just about like everybody else in the league, that if you don't get Johnny Cueto early on, I mean, he just gets better and better as the game goes on. He has had some first-inning troubles, not major troubles. I mean, he gives up a batting average of 250 in the first inning. It's under 200 from then on. In his last outing, he started the ball game against the St. Louis Cardinals with a hit, batter, and a walk to start the game off, but he pitched out of that inning and got better as the game went on to give the Reds 8 shutout innings.
The young shortstop Javier Baez, a batter, very low batting average. We talked about that last night at 173. Tonight is 41st game since being up from the minor leagues. He does have 9 home runs. And chance for 2 here. Santiago, Phillips turns it over. That's a double. Oh, brother. Todd Frazier not so sure about that, taking a look at Toby Basner, the first base umpire, and not sold on that call either is Brian Price. He will look back to his dugout once he arrives to greet Toby, and then turn around and look in the dugout. Thumbs up or thumbs down? You be the judge, Chris Welsh.
Out.
Yep. But the Reds are not going to challenge the call.
I guess, you know, they must have a better look than what we've seen. Maybe they can slow it down and look. The ball has to be in the glove. I mean, in the back of the glove is the way they define that, and maybe they feel like his foot hit the bag first. Hustling down the line. It was kind of a slow hit ball for a double play ball, but you expect that out of the Reds anyway.
That one getting away from Pena, and Baez will advance on to second base.
That is the first wild pitch of the year for Johnny Cueto, which is unbelievable. I mean, a lot of that has to go with the credit for Brian Pena, who's caught him the most of the games.
I'm not sure that'll go as a wild pitch. That ball did not hit the dirt. Had a lot of movement on it.
You know what? You're right. He may have been crossed up and they just had too much movement, but you're right. It didn't hit the dirt. Who's our man scoring tonight?
It'll be Bob Rosenberg.
Is he still deliberating down there?
He is. He's trying to get some of that cake out of his eyes from when they celebrated his 2000th game over at the Chicago Bulls, and the mascot. What do they call that mascot over there? Benny the Bull. Benny the Bull came over, had a birthday cake for Bob Rosenberg with the candles burning. He thought he was going to blow out the candles, and instead of doing that, Benny the Bull, with the candles lit, smashed the cake in his face and burned his eye. That is not a joke. That is a true story. Rosie's been around forever. He is a Chicago institution. Good man.
He seems to be all right.
He is, but he's still got a scar underneath that eye. 3-1 on Luis Valbuena.
So what happened to Benny the Bull? Put him out in the pasture?
You know, that's a very good question. Yeah. I did not hear anything handed down by then Commissioner David Stern about that incident. 3-1 on Valbuena. And time asked for and time granted.
There was a lot of stuff going on over there at second base. Cozart sneaking behind the runner, Baez, and kind of standing on the bag. And in the meantime, Valbuena just didn't want to wait forever for the pitch, so he asked for timeout.
Single by Coghlan. He was taken off the base pass on a fielder's choice. Baez advancing to second base. Now the 3-1 to Valbuena. Threw a fastball right by him. Actually, that may have been a breaking ball, only at 87 miles per hour.
Well, it's not easy to get along with Cueto. I mean, this year he has shown himself to really be a 5 or 6 pitch pitcher.
3-2 delivery. Got him swinging. That was a fastball.
Well, you had to figure that after the slider he was going to come with something harder in there, and Johnny has that second gear. Now this is 92 miles an hour, but a good spot. You get a hitter, you know, looking for something slow, then you speed him up a little bit.
So now he'll face Jorge Soler. Youngster playing in his 14th game. Very impressive numbers. 354, 4 home runs. More importantly, 13 runs batted in. He had to hit his first time up last night, and then Alfredo Simon got him on a ground out and got him to bounce into a double play. Alfredo pitched a good game last night, so he visited with the media. And Jim Day was down there to talk to Alfredo Simon, and Jim Day very quickly, 1-1. Alfredo had to be extremely pleased with the way 4 out of his last 5 outings have gone.
Was very pleased, and really he kept mentioning making a bid to be in the starting rotation next year, proving to everyone that he can be a starter not only now but next season, and putting to rest that dead arm theory that he's never pitched this many games or never started this many games. And very happy with himself. Obviously not happy the team lost, but pretty excited at 4 out of the last 5, as you said.
You know, Jim, we don't get very many interviews with Alfredo Simon. What kind of an interview is he?
He's good. He,
well, he's good when he's good.
This is true. There have been times when he has not pitched well and has not shown up to talk to the media, which has rubbed some guys the wrong way.
Yep.
But I think he has worked on that. There is a language barrier a bit that he has worked on his English as well, and has become a better interviewer.
Well, I know you were down there, Jim, and thanks so much. You were a lot of footwork back and forth. It's a little longer and treacherous walk in this ballpark from the field to the clubhouse than it is in every other ballpark. And there's ball 4 to Soler. So 2 on, 2 out. Let's take a look at the Red defense behind Cueto, brought to you by your Ford dealers. Hamilton at center, playing by Heisey and Jay Bruce. Again, Santiago, the start at third, pushing Frazier over to first, and Pena hanging aside. Two on, 2 out, no score, bottom of the first inning. And there's a fastball strike to Wellington Castillo. Well, what a beautiful night. You look out from where we sit, nearly atop Wrigley Field. Now we're looking down at the beautiful playing surface here, and the ivy still green on the walls as it's 0-2. And all the seating on the rooftops. Got Raven and Sheffield Avenues to the high rises right along Lake Michigan.
You know, all that's missing tonight is Tom Browning up on one of those buildings.
You are right. Now, where in the world did that pitch miss?
Well, when you've got your catcher jumping outside as much as Brian Pena did on that, and then you throw it right back to where he just left, I think you may confuse the umpire a little bit, even though that pitch looks like it's right there.
Holy Moses.
You know, a lot of times it's how you catch it. Especially when you're throwing 93 miles an hour with some action on it, not always easy to see.
Could that be a case, and you talked about Pena and setting up maybe too far off the strike zone on the outer edge. Could that be a case? Is it possible for a catcher to forget a sign?
No.
It's not.
I mean, yeah, it's possible. Pitchers have forgotten signs. I'm sure catchers sometimes may not forget, but maybe mistake what they actually put down.
And what I mean by that is more the location. You know, where they give you the finger, okay, number 1 for fastball, and touch their left leg, meaning you want to go to the inner part of the plate, and then it hits you all of a sudden as the guy's going into the windup. Oh, wait a minute, I'm on the outside quarter. I got to get inside.
Well,
you don't see it.
Yeah, and not very often now. Usually these guys they're locked in.
Three-two pitch. Swinging a foul ball out of play.
But you know, when you're a catcher, you're catching maybe 200 pitches in a ball game.
And that's why I bring it up, because I mean, everybody sooner or later, and there's no doubt, I mean, you're locked in, but we do see cross-ups from time to time. So if that can happen.
Well, normally the cross-ups you see are runners at second base. You got new signs, new pitcher coming in, that kind of thing. But I mean, Pena and Cueto have worked so well together all year long. I mean, for these guys not to be on the same page would be very interesting. It's surprising.
A swing and a miss, and that'll be strike 3 to end the inning. Looking forward to hearing from Jim Day about Joey Votto's afternoon when we come back.
Well, that question still remains out there. I'm Jim Day. Today he made another step in his rehab. He took live BP for the first time today. And looking at him, he looked good from the naked eye. Was doing some running, agility drills, and looked like the Joey Votto that we're used to. Obviously, the timing might not be there, but Brian Price says it's just another thing to check off the list of him coming back. The next step would be how he feels tomorrow, more live BP, and then try to get a simulated game or two together. But again, we're running out of time. Whether he appears in a game the rest of the season, still up in the air.
Jim, did you say as we begin the top half of the second inning, no score in the game, and Jay Bruce with a ground ball to Logan Watkins, who throws him out one away? Did Joey talk with anybody? I mean, normally if somebody's going to talk to him, you're a pretty good bet to do that. Did he talk to anybody in the media regarding his day today?
He did not. He came off the field and went right to the clubhouse. I think at this point he feels he's got nothing to gain by doing an interview. At least that's what I've gained from it. In Milwaukee, I went up to him and said, Joey, do you want to do an extended interview where you're not going to be cut off, you're not going to be edited, you're not going to be used as a soundbite, you're not going to be in a group situation. I can even tell you the questions beforehand if you want, and he politely turned it down, so he did not want that opportunity.
Okay. All right. Well, good stuff nonetheless. 1-0 to Brandon Phillips. And Arrieta delivers. Ground ball. Glove side of the shortstop Baez, who is a natural shortstop. Prior to the injury a little more than 2 weeks ago to their shortstop, their regular guy over there, of course, Sterling Castro, Baez had been playing second base. But now shortstop, and it looks like he'll be there through the end of the year. Chris Heisey, 227, 8 home runs and 21 runs batted in. He looks at a strike. Arrieta is a strike machine here tonight. I want to ask Chris a little bit about, as we move forward in this game, about Arrieta, who came up originally with Baltimore, a 5th round pack in 2007 out of Texas Christian University. You're talking about a guy with a career ERA of over 4.5. So is what we're seeing this year a mirage or a maturing pitcher coming into his own? Chris will share those thoughts and much more when we return. 6-pitch inning for Arrieta. Second inning in a scoreless game, locked up in a good one tonight. Good pitchers matchup. Cueto v. Arrieta. Cueto allowed a single and a walk in the first inning, but got out of trouble fanning Wellington Castillo. Chris Valleca will lead things off. Cueto's one-time teammate. Strike one. Milwaukee a scoreless first in St. Louis. That is Willie Peralta against Lance Lynn. Line drive. That ball smoked by Valleca right at Santiago.
Boy, it sounded good off the bat. Valleca getting a rare start because Rizzo was in the lineup last night. You know, he sat out for a couple of weeks with a bad back. And they didn't want to play him back-to-back nights. It's kind of a rehab situation for Rizzo, even though he hit a home run to win the ball game last night. Chris Valleca's in there at first base tonight.
Steve right one to Logan Watkins. .46 at bats for Watkins with the big league club. A home run, 5 runs batted in. We're talking about Milwaukee and their game tonight. That series beginning at Busch Stadium in St. Louis. And Vaughn swinging his Watkins 2 away. But to bring you up to speed on what's going on in the wild card, the Giants have a 2.5 game lead over the Pirates, but the Pirates right now have the second wild card, a 1.5 games better than Milwaukee, and Atlanta is fading fast. They've lost 4 in a row. They've lost 9 of 11. They're scoreless tonight in D.C. and you saw they're 4.5 games back. That's starting to slip away for Atlanta, and it looks like it's coming down to the Pirates and Milwaukee for 1 spot. And then, of course, there's a race for the best record in either league. And basically, you've got a virtual tie, the Nationals and the Dodgers, both with 86 wins. Nationals have 1 fewer loss. And the Cardinals are a full 3.5 behind Washington. Cardinals, they were right there with a chance for the best record. And when the Reds beat them 3 in a row last week in Cincinnati, that really hurt them. Fastball up and in, 3-2 on Caesar. When you look at all of those teams, and it generally holds true all over baseball year after year after year, the difference, the way teams play at home as opposed to the way they play on the road, it's mind-boggling. This Reds team is 5 games over 500 at home, 14 under on the road. Look at the Cardinals, they're 3 games under away from home. Now, the Dodgers would be the exception to that rule. They've been a better road team by far this year. That one popped up. And this will be a 1-2-3 second for Johnny Cueto. We march on to the 3rd in a scoreless game.
Chicago, Reds and Cubs on Fox Sports Ohio. I'm Jim Day up in the suite level. My pleasure to welcome in Basketball Hall of Famer Charles Barkley, who threw out tonight's ceremonial first pitch. Wearing a Cubs gear, we'll let that one slide. But what brings you to Wrigley Field?
I'm here for CDW, and I got an opportunity. Something I'd never done this before, to throw out the first pitch. It was pretty cool.
Well, let's talk about that, because I give you credit. A lot of people go in front of the mound. You went to the top of the mound, but you did bounce it.
Well, that was my ego. I was living in the past. I'll know next time to come down a little bit, but it was awesome, though. I didn't mind bouncing it. You just didn't want to look ridiculous.
Did you play any baseball at all growing up?
Not really. You know, you played a couple years, just like not minor leagues, like rec league, but not really, not seriously.
Basketball. Tell me who about LeBron James. We proudly broadcast Cavs games here on Fox Sports Ohio. You got LeBron James coming back. You got the Kevin Love trade. You've got Kyrie Irving. Can they be a so-called big three and win a championship?
They're going to have a really good team. And I will say this, one of the coolest things I've ever seen in my basketball career was when LeBron James announced he was going back to Cleveland. I had been a big proponent. He shouldn't have never left Cleveland. I'm glad he went back. He got a fan for life. Listen, Kevin Love is terrific. Kyrie's got to be terrific. The only team in the East that can give them troubles is the Chicago Bulls. And that depends on if Derrick Rose is healthy. But they're going to be one of the favorites because LeBron's just an amazing player.
And it's much more than basketball, and I'm sure you know this. When he goes back to an area like Akron and Cleveland, it brings so much financial, it brings civic pride. There's so much. Was it not?
Well, that was one of the reasons, a lot of guys think us old guys were hating on LeBron when he left going to Miami. We knew that from the beginning. Cleveland is an amazing city. It probably gets a bad rap. But financial impact he's going to bring to Cleveland. But also they got to find a way. He's got to get Mr. Gilbert, get the mayor of Cleveland and governor. They've got to do some things for Akron. Because he's going to pump couple $1 billion in the next year, billions of dollars in the next few years into the city of Cleveland. But they've got to find a way to let him maybe help his hometown of Akron also. They just can't be selfish and keep all the money in Cleveland. But that's the reason, that's the cool thing about him going back to Cleveland.
I understand you were, I don't want to say workout partners, but you worked out in the same place in Phoenix with our guy, Tom Brenneman.
He's kind of, since he moved back to the Midwest, he's kind of gotten all soft on me and everything. We were pumping iron. We were on the treadmill. We were on the elliptical. He was a workout warrior. But I watched him a couple times on television. He's getting a little soft since he moved back to the Midwest.
Oh, man, that's unbelievable.
Dare I say he's been terrible?
He has been terrible. But you know what? I've always been a friend of his and a fan, obviously. But he was just always tremendous living in Arizona. We miss him there. You guys are so lucky to have him.
There you go.
Hey, you know what, Jim? I want to tell you, this isn't a mutual admiration society, but Charles knows, and I've told him this to his face, but for some people out there, whatever your impression of Charles Barkley is, I've never been around anybody who's in the public eye that is better with people.
Yeah. Who
walk up to him, say hello. I've never seen a friendlier guy to people day in and day out than Charles Barkley, and I think everybody should know that. Jim, please let him know that I miss seeing him, and we've always been a big fan of his as a guy.
He says he missed seeing you, and he's talking about, a lot of things said about Charles Barkley, but one thing you can say is how good you are with people, and I witnessed that firsthand before the game. You were taking pictures, signing autographs, and readily available for people. You are a guy, are you not?
Well, listen, I think one thing that comes when you're a professional, you get paid a lot of money. You should always be cordial. You should always sign autographs and take pictures unless you're eating. But I try to always be cordial. I'm always going to sign autographs and take pictures. That just goes with the job.
One thing I like about this guy, if you want to know the truth, come talk to Charles Barkley. He'll give you his opinion.
Better believe it. He's the best. He's the best. All right, Jim. Charles, thank you.
Thank you, Charles. Appreciate it, man. All right, nice to meet you.
My best.
I'll give Tom your best. Tommy gives you his best.
Thank you.
Even
Good
though
man.
Right now in the Midwest, he says you're terrible.
Ask him if he's gotten soft.
Oh, he has. He admitted that he has gotten soft.
Okay. dealer. Ford, go further by Cincinnati USA Regional Tourism Network. Stay close to CincinnatiUSA.com. And by Skyline Chili, feeling good. It's Skyline time. Gretchen and Jen, who work in our studio back on the home front. And they work in the Red scoreboard when the team is at home. They have made the trip up here to Chicago to check out Reds baseball. Ladies, welcome to the Windy City. They came prepared tonight.
They did. They read the weather report, obviously.
I understand Jim Day went and asked them if he could borrow a pair of their gloves for the game tonight.
What'd they say?
Not a chance. They have them on.
I don't blame him. I mean, he was eating hot dogs last night that were in somebody's pocket.
Gogi.
You wouldn't want to get mustard all over a pair of borrowed gloves.
That ball is crushed by Arrieta. And that will go all the way to the warning track on one hop before Hamilton runs it down. That is only the 6th hit all year long and the second double by Arrieta.
Pretty good swing right there.
Now it leaves Ramon Santiago wondering, you infrequently ever see a sacrifice with a pitcher on base. And Santiago is wondering, might that be a possibility here? A couple of steps in on the grass at third, doesn't matter, probably hit by a pitch.
Back of the arm, man, that had to hurt. There's no brace of protection on Coughlin's right arm as that ball goes right up the tricep. Kind of interesting, really, why Cueto, unless he was just setting up another pitch, why he would really throw that ball inside in a situation where Cubs want to get that runner over to third.
Now the question is, do you ask Baez to try and put down a bunt? He's hitting in the number 2 hole. Now, granted, he's been a middle-of-the-order guy his entire minor league career. No sign of one here. Fastball up and in, ball 1. There are really 2 schools of thought on this. Some would argue, probably some old-school baseball people would say, as this one's popped up, and this will be an easy play. Field fly will fix. Some would argue that, you look ahead to next year, Baez is probably going to be their everyday second baseman. He will probably bat in the number 2 hole in the lineup because the number 3 spot belongs to Castro. The number 4 spot belongs to, Rizzo, or flip-flop those 2. And then you probably have Soler somewhere in the heart of the order. So do you want to find out if Baez is capable of bunting? The other side of it is, you're out of it. What do you have to lose? Let him swing away and see if he can drive in a run.
No, I don't like the second one at all. And I really don't like the way you verbalize the first one. It's not finding out whether a young kid called up out of the minor leagues who is 21 years old, whether he knows how to bunt. You teach him what team baseball is all about.
That is correct in theory.
And, well, I mean,
in theory, because there are more and more players, as you and I have discussed many times. Jay Bruce is the prime example of one of them, who went through his entire minor league career without a single sacrifice bunt. So you are finding out if they're capable of bunting in some cases because you've never asked them to bunt. I mean, you and I are on the same page as far as they should know how to bunt.
I'm asking them to bunt. I mean, are the Cubs rebuilding so that they can have a kid come up out of the minor leagues and be a star player at 21 years old and not be able to play team baseball? Or you want to try to win ball games?
I'm with you all the way.
And when you're facing Johnny Cueto, and I know all the sabermetrics about the bunt and how you shouldn't do it because it limits the number of runs you're going to score in an inning and all that. I get that, but you're not always facing Johnny Cueto either. And any time you get a chance to get a runner at third base with less than 2 outs, even if it is the pitcher, you get him there.
I'm with you all the way.
Because that may be the only run you get all night long.
Believe me. I am with you 100%.
I'm bunting that kid first until he gets 2 strikes on him. And if he doesn't get it down, he's out here at 2 o'clock tomorrow afternoon.
And that's why I said in theory.
I'm old and gray-haired.
No, it isn't.
Probably obsolete.
Because even the sabermetricians, as we talked about, in the thesis about the bunt that was written a number of years ago, the one area and the one time sabermetricians are not as prone to saying don't bunt is first and second, nobody out. Runner at first, nobody out, different ballgame. 3-2 now on Valbuena.
We've seen Johnny Cueto wiggle out of these jams so much. Seemingly going into a second gear sometimes.
This big pitch right here. 3-2 to count on Valbuena. And it's swung on and fouled out of play. You know, a little bit later on and not right now because there's 2 on and 1 out. You know, I want you and I to circle back around to that. About that whole idea of young players bunting, playing fundamental baseball. And we've talked from time to time about the Angels and their hard, fast rule for a long time about every player in their system has to put down a number of sacrifice bunts in a year, attempt squeeze plays as a hitter and a runner. 3-2 to count. Oh boy, that's a big walk.
You know what Cueto does when he gets in trouble, he doesn't rely on all of his off-speed stuff. He pretty much rears back and throws fastball. And in that at bat, Valbuena fouled a few off. And he put the pressure on Cueto. Cueto doesn't want to make a mistake. He respects Valbuena enough to know that he got to stay out of the hot zone. And he ends up putting him on base.
So Johnny tonight, not quite as fine with his command. He's walked 2 batters. He's hit a batter. And now he'll pitch to Soler with the bases loaded.
And he's a ground ball away from getting out of the inning. That's the impressive thing for me about Soler as compared to Baez. And Soler is a year older. He's 22 years old. You see the batting average overall. But he lays off of pitches like that. And for a young kid coming up out of the minor leagues to show a little bit of plate discipline, that's impressive.
Jam shot. Do they have time to turn it? There's one. And not even a throw to first base. It's 1-0 Chicago. I mean, that was not hit very hard at all. And Brandon Phillips stuck that one in his pocket. 2 away in the inning.
I think that the internal clock that Brandon has in his head realizes that with Soler running, there's no way you're going to get 2 anyway. I really don't think he could have turned it in time.
So that walk to Valbuena might be the biggest at bat in the inning. Of course, the hit batter with a runner at second and nobody else didn't help either. It's in the air. And Bruce will come on to get it. The Cubs on the board. Thanks to a double by their pitcher to lead off the inning. the Bearcats defense and what they can do to improve from week 1. Future on display for the Blue Jackets. And Kyle Irving named the MVP of Team USA as they won the gold medal at the FIBA World Cup. That's all at FoxSportsOhio.com. So Arrieta leads things off in the 3rd inning with a double. Only his 6th hit of the entire season. And the Cubs end up scratching out a run with a hit batter, a walk, and a fielder's choice. 1-0. Reds are looking for their first base runner against Arrieta. So they'll have the top of the order. It's been 9 up, 9 down with 5 strikeouts for the Cub right-hander. Arrieta struck out this trio in order in the 1st inning. Hamilton swinging, Pena looking, Frazier swinging. Arrieta has had unbelievable starts already against the Reds. Remember, he had a no-hitter June the 24th, pitching into the 7th inning, and Billy Hamilton broke it up with a base hit into center field. As we're hoping they can get somebody aboard against this right-hander long before the 7th arrives here tonight, and they're 1 pitch away from doing it. 3-1 to Hamilton. And Hamilton aboard with 56 stolen bases.
Arrieta is one guy that has not been able to shut down the running game. The one really flaw in Arrieta so far he's shown as a Cub, and he's had a very good year for the Cubs, but they have stolen 23 bases off of him. Cubs catchers have thrown out only 4. And there goes Billy again.
And he is in there with number 57.
Well, you can see Arrieta's delivery. I mean, he really doesn't give Wellington Castillo much of a chance. The throw not on the money anyway, but even if it were on the money, I don't think he's going to get him.
Well, apparently
Rick Renteria thinks that maybe there's an angle in there that's going to show that Billy had not touched the bag when that play was out. They're going to ask him to review it.
How about that?
You know what? It's interesting. We can roll that again. If you see the left hand of Billy Hamilton going over the bag right here, is it actually on the bag or not? Coming up in the air, in the air, in the air. See, the problem when you slide like that is that you can't reach out and touch it with your finger, even with that brace on there. You've got to have that brace go over the top of the bag, so you're really not touching the bag until the heel of your hand gets there. And if that tag is on him beforehand, then Billy Hamilton will be caught out. Billy goes back to first to talk to Billy Hatcher. The umpires call New York.
Well, the crew chief is the second base umpire. That's Bill Miller. He has a headset on, and so too does the home plate umpire, Mike Everett. Arrieta's going to continue to throw warm-ups.
Well, we got a minute. We were talking kind of animated about Javier Baez and whether he can bunt or not. I think we are both coming from the same situation. You know, you're absolutely right. He has 0 sacrifice bunts in his minor league career. And he's played in 319 minor league games.
Here's where I wanted to go with you, though, talking about that. And you just said I'm a guy with gray hair, insinuating you're old school and you're an older guy, and that's the way baseball, as we grew up playing it and watching it, used to be played. Here is a question I always have about that. Most of the guys who are managers in the major leagues, who are managers in the minor leagues, and who are, let's get the verdict here, and he's out. It looked like the right call. It looked like, because of what you talked about, that Hamilton's wrist area, by the time it touched the bag, that Baez had made the tag on it.
Maybe that's why going feet first is always a preferable way to go, because you get it as soon as you get there. Here you kind of curl that hand up over the bag, and you don't touch it until nearly your wrist is there.
But getting back to that real quick, if you start digging through the Cubs media guide, you go through the Reds media guide, every single team in baseball, and you see, okay, they'll have a coordinator here, a coordinator there, the minor league manager at every level, the minor league hitting coach at every level. Most of them are guys, Chris, that are our age or a little bit younger. They're guys that grew up believing you got to be able to put down the bunt. Okay. Let's use a bunt. And here's been my argument or question for years. It's the guys our age that are allowing it to go on. It's not a bunch of 20-something-year-olds that are coaching these guys in the minor leagues. It's not a bunch of 30-year-olds coaching them in the minor leagues. It's a bunch of guys that grew up like you and I, believing there is some value in every player being able to bunt. And there are guys that are coming up on every team. We talked about Jay Bruce. You're talking about Baez, with not a single sacrifice in their life.
And we all know you get better by repetition. And you got to do it in the game. I don't know, Tom. Maybe, here's what happens a lot of times after a minor league game. The manager calls the farm director, and he leaves a detailed message on the phone about the game tonight. Who pitched? How many pitches did he throw? How did he look? Who the guys hit the ball hard? Who struck out a bunch? Who didn't look well? What the injury report is, and so on. And they file a written report as well. But maybe if you've got some stud prospect, you don't want to call up the farm director and say, I had our number 3 hitter punting twice tonight. Because he'll call you back and say, what? We didn't sign this guy for X number of $1 million, or he's not on the top 10 prospect list because we want him to lay down a bunt. You let him swing away.
But that's where the philosophy of an organization, and some of you have heard us talk about this many times. We get back to the Mike Scioscia thing. I remember you had the big prospect, number 1 prospect in baseball, never panned out as a major leaguer, Brandon Wood. He had 52 home runs in a minor league season. But the Angels organization requires every player to put down, number I think used to be 3 sacrifices a year. You would try to have them in a situation, and of course in this part of it you can't dictate how frequently you would do it, but have every player in your organization attempt to put down a suicide squeeze as a batter and as a runner, to hit and run X number of times so they have an idea about how to do that. Frazier gone swinging, and so you're 100% right about the minor league manager calling whomever after the game. But if the general manager is saying, we want everybody to do X, Y, and Z, then you're not surprised when you hear the number 3 batter put down a bunt.
How many kids who are number 3 hitters in AA or AAA go to the major leagues and are immediately put in the middle of the lineup? They're not. They're always number 2 or number 7 or 8.
Sure.
That's just the way it is. Boy, that's a curveball right there.
Wow. Frazier gone on strikes for the second time. 1-0 Chicago after 3.5.
Lots of strikeouts. You will like our T-Mobile Game Changer tonight, and it's time for our T-Mobile Game Changer right now. The pitchers the Reds have had over the history of their organization with 18 wins and 220 or more strikeouts, and there he is on that list along with Jim Maloney a couple of times, Noodles Hahn, all the way back to Tony Mullane and Johnny Cueto. He obviously will surpass that. He's got 53 more strikeouts this year, Cueto does. He did back in 2012 when he had a sensational year. Won 19 games that year. So the strikeouts are up. And his control is better, although he's walked a few in this ball game.
Yeah, he has only thrown at last check, 5 more strikes. Now 4, I believe, than he has balls tonight. But he's only on the short end of a 1-0 game, and they'll be facing Valleca, Watkins, Caesar here in the Cubs' 4th inning. Valleca hit a ball right on the nose his first time up. And there you see the strikeouts in the season. Chris alluded to for Johnny Cueto. Of course, no 2013 on there. He didn't even make a dozen starts on the season. 3 trips on the disabled list. Tell you, one award Cueto should win in a landslide, and that would be the Comeback Player of the Year award in the National League, unless there's somebody I'm forgetting who. And off the top of my head, I can't think of anybody that would be more deserving than Cueto, who virtually missed 5.5 of the 6 months, or 4.5 of the 6 months of the season last year. Blake out of there to begin the 4th inning. Chris brought up earlier, I mean, all of us would love to see Johnny Cueto win the Cy Young, but it's just not happening. I mean, and I think you said it best, Chris. This is history-making stuff, the kind of year that Clayton Kershaw is putting together for the Los Angeles Dodgers. A 1.7 ERA for Kershaw. He has 19 wins. And you got to remember, Kershaw spent time on the DL, if I'm not mistaken. Didn't he have 1 trip on the DL?
In the beginning of the year?
Yeah.
He's got about 4 or 5 fewer starts, I think, than Johnny Cueto does.
Opponent's batting average, you see slightly better. 4 points better for Kershaw. Johnny with more strikeouts, 1 more, but again, Kershaw missed a number of starts this season. Of course, you got to figure in, we thought this 2 years ago, that Cueto deserved more votes than he received in the Cy Young balloting when you take into account where he pitches at least half of his starts over the course of the year compared to the ballpark where Kershaw pitches.
And of course, how good your ball club is has a lot to do with it sometimes too. It shouldn't, but it does. Right now, of course, the Dodgers are in first place, have a 4-game lead over the Giants.
So now Matt Caesar with 2 down, 5 strikeouts in the game for Johnny Cueto. Breaking ball in there, strike 1. Pirates still in front of Boston, 2-0. That game at the bottom of the 6th inning at PNC Park. 1 hopper down to 3rd, and a nice, quick, perfect inning for Johnny. We're off to the 5th. Reds have 3 hits in this series. They need to get to work. Food Group. Let's create great dishes together. Buy Toyota for over 30 Toyota offers. Visit buyatoyota.com. Go for the Save on Wing Tuesdays at B-Dubs, Buffalo Wild Wings, Wings Beer Sports, and by T-Mobile Tuesday Night Baseball. AT&T Called Action. You can tweet your photo using hashtag #OhioFanPhoto for a chance to have it shown during an upcoming game. It's brought to you by AT&T. Jay Bruce to lead things off against Arrieta here in the fifth. Cubs in front 1-0. We mentioned the Reds. So far in this series, they had 3 hits in the game last night, none tonight. They are 3 for 37. That is a .081 batting average. Well, looks like Jim Day made it back from hanging out with Sir Charles. Jim Day normally rubs elbows with all the stars. Hanging out with Charlie Sheen earlier this summer. That one's popped up in the foul ground. And Jim, it's nice to see you. You made it back.
Yeah, Charles was holding court up there in the suite, and I got to tell you, the conversation was about as funny as you can get.
He's something else, isn't he?
He really is.
One away for Brandon Phillips. He grounded out to the shortstop Baez, his first time up. I was starting to bring it up earlier. When you're evaluating Arrieta, and obviously the body of work is very good this year. Tonight is 24 start, ERA in the 2s. That one lined into left center field, but caught by Condon. Obviously, you're going to have this guy back in your rotation next year, but what are your expectations for Arrieta, considering what he's done before he came here during his time in Baltimore and then last season?
Well, you know, Tom, I think he's a guy who's a perfect example of when you change a different spot, you move to a new place, you have a whole new lease on life. And he was one of these prospects in Baltimore that every time he got a chance, he just didn't do it. His numbers there weren't very good. His earned run averages were very high.
Boy, that hurt. That hurt watching. Reds without a hit through 5. Trail 1-0.
4 different players, and the person with the most points at the end of each game wins. Head-to-head challenge is free to play, so download today. I'm Jim Day, and we'd like to send out a special greeting to Judy Rainwater. She is a longtime employee of Delta Airlines, which happens to be the airlines that the Reds have their private charters on. This is her final road trip as she is set to retire, and Judy has been a joy to be around. And Judy, I hope you're watching out there. From everyone on the crew and every one of the Reds players and Reds in general, we thank you for being such a terrific person. And we look forward to you being on the rest of this road trip. And Judy, you're the best. Thank you.
Well, you're right. She is the best. She is such a sweetheart. I mean,
she really is.
She's been doing the Red Charters for a long, long time. She remembers everybody's name. I mean, if you bring your wife on board or your kids one time or so, she remembers everybody. Takes time to talk to everybody up and down the aisle. Really, we're going to miss Judy.
What a sweet lady.
You know, and Judy was, and I'm not so sure she's doing it anymore, but, you know, independent teams try to find houses for their players. And Judy lives over in northern Kentucky. For years and years, she would house a couple of players that played for the Florence Freedom. And, you know, while she's traveling around, you know, being a flight attendant. So it's, her love for baseball and the Reds goes very, very deep.
Well, you are right. What a wonderful lady. She's very involved in a lot of activities, I know, in and around her church as well, and that's taken a lot of her time. I mean, she settles up next to my dad, and they can carry on for hours at a time. If she didn't have to work, I think the two of them are pretty much inseparable.
Your dad's really going to miss her. Now she can still come down to the ballpark from time and again, you know. Come on up to the TV booth and radio booth to visit anytime she wants.
She's always welcome. 0-2 on Coghlan. And Judy, we're being very sincere about that. You come up and visit us, and my dad had said the same thing. Anytime you want to bring your friends up or your family, say hello, you are always welcome to stop by. One and two on Coghlan with one out, nobody on. Pirates have added to their lead, 3-0 now in the 7th. And Coghlan gone, swinging, 2 away. Well, tomorrow, a brand new Reds Weekly. You'll hear from Billy Hamilton. See the view from the top of the tower. And what's the future hold for Corky Miller now that he's retired from baseball? All that and more. Reds Weekly. It's a great show. You'll enjoy it tomorrow night at 6. Right here on Fox Sports Ohio. 2 down from Baez. Big swing and a miss.
Looking fastball, getting changeup.
Looking fastball and getting breaking ball.
Same result.
That just slipped right off his fingertips.
Had to. I don't even think the radar gun picked up how hard that thing was. You know what I think he was trying to do? Was he trying to throw the same type of pitch that Alfredo Simon throws, where he's almost slowing his arm down a little bit?
What I was wondering. Chilly out there tonight. We talked about that, but it's not cold.
Yeah, but the ball sometimes, you know, on a chilly night like this and dry can really get slick. Dry slick.
1-2 the count. Swing and a miss, and Baez claiming he fouled the ball off.
Well, that was his bat hitting the dirt. That's what he's being explained to you right now.
Umpire said, all right, Javi, good try. Concession stands on your next trip to Great American Ballpark, located near sections 130 and 113. Two stands feature several Christian Moorline craft beer options, over 40 bottled beer selections. 513-381-REDS. I can't remember the magazine that went on a tour of all the ballparks in Major League Baseball, and Great American Ballpark was ranked #1 in the major leagues for beer selection and pricing. I can't remember what magazine. I just read the headline on that a couple of weeks ago.
Well, Jim Day did a whole little vignette from down in that craft beer bar.
Jim, did you try all those beers down there?
I did not. Although Chris Welsh had the first one, the first pour.
What do you mean the first pour?
Way back when we did a thing, I think it was either opening day or the day before.
It was actually the day before opening day. We went down there for a dress rehearsal for opening day extravaganza that Fox Sports Ohio put on that day. And I had me walking by the craft beer bar, and you know, I'm always kind of the inquisitive type. And I checked them on the tap, see if they were hooked up. My goodness, they were hooked up.
And nobody was around?
Well, as soon as I did that, of course, Michael Anderson of the Red showed up. He's one of the PR directors. And so he and I had one. He poured me one, and he had one, and it's a good day.
And the Reds are still looking for one. One hit. Matter of fact, we have a photo from that day. There you are.
There's Michael.
Yep. Michael looking good back there behind the bar. I just had a chance to see that the other day when we came down there for to be on the set at Reds Live. That is really a cool setup. No hits for the Reds. They have one base runner. That was a leadoff walk to Billy Hamilton in the 4th inning, who on first judgment stole second base. That was challenged by Rich Renteria, and he won that challenge. Replay showing Billy Hamilton was out. Ozai takes strike 2. So Rick Renteria does have one challenge remaining.
He's got one negative overturned challenge remaining. As long as you keep getting them right, you go on indefinitely.
And there's strike 3 called to Frazier.
Well, I'll tell you what, he has got it going on.
IGS bringing the energy. Look at these numbers. when he gets ahead 2 strikes on a batter, only Clayton Kershaw has a lower opponent batting average than Arrieta.
That's coming into the game tonight. He's only gotten better with that because he's got 8 strikeouts.
Now Cueto. And he puts a bat on the ball, but it's right in the first baseman. And not only is he mowing him down, every inning he's going through the Reds in fewer than 10 pitches.
Live streaming sports service is celebrating 12 years. Join the millions of subscribers. Watch every out-of-market game live in true HD on over 400 devices. Visit Reds.com for details. Flashback, this date in Reds history, and a big one. September 16th, 1988, Mr. Perfect Tom Browning delivered the only perfect game in Reds history at Riverfront Stadium. 27 up, 27 down in a 1-0 victory over the Dodgers. Tom Browning forever a Reds legend because of it.
No debate about that. I was there for the final 2 innings of that game after covering high school football on a Friday night. Of course, they had that rain delay in that game. We came walking in from covering high school football all night, and Ken Brew, our boss over at Channel 5, said, "Boys, you better get down there." That lined into center field, and that'll be a base hit by Valbuena, leading off the Cubs' 6th inning.
Had a little text conversation with Tom Browning, Mr. Perfect himself, earlier, just before the ball game tonight. Now he's safe and sound back from his duties as minor league coach and kind of buckled in for the winter. Yeah, this is also a day.
Down the left field line by Soler into the corner. Second and third, nobody out here in the Chicago 6th inning.
Now, first pitch hitting Soler, who walked the first time up, hit into a fielder's choice the last time, got a fastball, and he rips on that right down the third baseline. Now, the Cubs have had this situation a couple of times. The runners in scoring position, and each time Wellington Castillo has been the batter to come to the plate. He has made the third out at each of the previous times with runners on base. Nobody out this time.
0-1 on Castillo. Cubs leading 1-0 in their second and third with none out. And now 2-0 on Wellington Castillo, who was struck out swinging and fly to right. Infield in, Santiago, Cozart, Phillips, and Frazier. Perhaps they'll just go ahead and put Castillo on and load the bases. They appeal. He did not go around, and they're loaded. That's ball 4. 3 walks. Cueto has hit a batter in the game. He's allowed 1 run on 4 hits. So this is the toughest spot if you're a pitcher that you can be in. Bases loaded, nobody out. Chris Vallejo lined out to the third baseman Santiago's first time up.
You got to be hacking early in this count.
She is. Cueto struck him out the last time.
I mean, if Cueto follows his normal form, when he really needs an out, that's when he goes back and tries to get it without a good old number 1. Coming with the heat. Now with a strike ahead of Vallejo, he might be looking for a strikeout with a breaking ball. Fastball again.
They get ahead 0-2. Well, you beat him in there with a fastball his last time up. Do you go there 3 times in a row? Nope, they go away. But it was a fastball high. Nothing but fastball so far in this at bat. That one left a little bit more over the plate. And it began with a single by Valbuena. He went to third on a double by Soler. A walk to Castillo. Count of 1-2 on Vallejo. Mr. Welch, you like to talk all the time about, an action pitch, and this is the one you'd like to try and make something happen.
Now, Robin Roberts always thought this was one of the 3 absolutes in pitching. First pitch strikes, have 2 speeds on your breaking pitch, and get a decision on a 2-2 count.
Well, he must have done all those very well when he was on the
Well, he did. Of course, his key was a lot like Johnny Cueto's. When you get a man on third, less than 2 outs, you reach back and add about a foot to your fastball. Very few pitchers can do that. Cueto's in a battle right here, and he knows it.
2-2 on Valaika, and here it comes. Fastball up and away, ball 3.
Well, that's pretty good discipline up there for Valaika, a guy that doesn't get all that much playing time.
No action in the Reds bullpen. 1-0 game. We're in the bottom of the 6th inning. Reds are being no hit tonight. And the Cubs have them loaded with none out. Johnny Ok's assigned with Pena. 3-2 pitch. And another foul ball. That was right there down the middle. And now Pena's going to come out and visit with Cueto. And now we have action starting in the Reds bullpen. Right-hander Sam LeCure beginning to throw. This will be the 9th pitch in this at bat. Cueto v. Valaika. Cueto walks it around. 2-0.
Tyler Miles, the pitch by pitch, unfortunately, is a bad one for Johnny Cueto. A good at bat by Chris Valaika. You can see he gets ahead of him 0-2. And then this is where Valaika really starts to impress. He fouls off the strikes. He takes the balls, recognizing the pitches right out of Cueto's hands that they're not going to be strikes. Takes a high fastball here to run it 3-2. And eventually, after a foul ball, Cueto misses one more time, and it's a run batted in with that base on balls.
Cueto ahead in that count, 0-2. That is quite an at-bat indeed by Valaika. The second bases loaded walk this season for Johnny Cueto. He has been the best pitcher in Major League Baseball over the last 3 years with the bases loaded. The numbers are staggering for Cueto in these situations. How good he has been. And he's still staring down the barrel at bases loaded and nobody out. A lot of folks that paid for tickets tonight found something else to do. They have an announced crowd of up close to 34,000. 1-0 to Watkins. And there's a strike. Watkins a good swing at that fastball, fouling it back. Cueto ahead at 1-2. Ground ball, Frazier. He'll get one. And that's the first out in the inning.
Now they get the lead runner and get an out. That's the important thing. They did not get the double play. I'm not sure it was hit hard enough to do that. Kind of a funny play where Frazier got rid of the ball quickly thinking he was going to get a double play, but it looked like Brian Pena, when he got the ball back from Frazier, looked down to make sure he was standing on the plate.
It's a big batter here because the pitcher's next. And yes, the pitcher does have a double in the game, but it's a guy who before that at bat had 5 hits all year long. They're trying to take care of this guy without another run scoring and keep it a 2-0 game. Strike one. Nasty pitch right there by Cueto. Cubs have not had a pitcher throw a no-hitter in over 6 years. And they have one working on one tonight. To get ahead 0-2.
A little extra hesitation on that pitch by Johnny Cueto. He's pulling out all the tricks tonight. Leg up, hold, and then go to the plate. Back to normal. Didn't get him chasing that changeup.
So ahead of Caesar at 1-2 strikes. Corner infielders about even with their bags at third and first. And the middle infield at double play depth. 1 out. This season, pitching with the bases loaded, Cueto allowed batters a 129 average. This year he's not been nearly as sharp, which is hard to believe when you put into perspective what kind of year he's having overall. He's never given up a grand slam. Three and two now on Caesar. It's 3-0. Well, we thought from the very beginning that Cueto was just not as sharp with his command tonight. In 222 innings, Cueto had only walked 59 batters. He has walked 5 batters and hit a batter in the game tonight. The thing it's hard to believe is both of his walks with the bases loaded in this inning have come after he was ahead in the count 0-2 on Baleka and now Caesar. Still only 1 out. So most walks in a game for Cueto since the 2011 season. 2 out. Bases still loaded. 2 are out in the inning. 2 runs home in the inning, and a 3-0 Chicago lead. Coughlin, the 8th man to bat. Strike 1. Coughlin has singled, been hit by a pitch, and struck out. Yet another batter 0-2.
After being drilled on the back of the right arm his first time up, Coughlin now has a little bit of a brace on that arm, or at least a pad to keep any further pain away.
One and two on Coughlin. Cubs have scored 3 runs tonight, and not a single one of them has come home via the base hit. Fielder's choice ground ball from Soler in the third, played in the first run. A pair of bases loaded walks here in the Chicago 6th. 1-2 to Coughlin. We'll do it again. Center field, it'll go to the wall, and 3 runs are going to score. And the Cubs lead 6-0 on a 3-run double by Coughlin. And that's it for Cueto tonight. And 1 run coming into this inning. And the Cubs have put a 5 spot on the board to chase him in the 6th. Our Skyline Chili call to the bullpen brings on Sam LeCure. 6-0 Chicago.
May not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Cincinnati Reds.
Now the Cubs bust this baby wide open. 5 runs against Johnny Cueto here in the bottom of the 6th inning. 2 walks with the bases loaded after being ahead of both batters at 0-2. And then on a 1-2 count, he allows a 3-run double. Sam LeCure to face Javier Baez. Cueto had allowed a total of 3 runs in his last 3 starts combined. So a rare off night. One of the very best in all of baseball here tonight. It's going to happen to everybody. On Baez. Breaking ball near strike. Baez is 0 for 3.
Yeah, I think that's why you're seeing Sam McCure in here, because of his curveball and Baez's affection for the fastball.
Of course, the first thing you think of with Cueto after you talk about how things went tonight, how many more starts will he have? It's at a ton of foul. He is still going to be 2 wins shy. Whether the Reds come back and win this thing and take him off the hook from getting a loss, he's going to remain 2 wins shy of 20 victories overall on the season. And Jim Day, I know you were talking about that with Brian Price down in the clubhouse just a couple of days ago, correct?
I'm sorry, Tom. I was
talking about how many starts Cueto conceivably could get in pursuit of 20.
Yes, he could most likely get 2 more. I hope. Could be involved the last day of the season.
And Jim, correct me if I'm wrong, I think that they're going to keep him on the same rotation so that if the Reds have an off day, and they do have an off day coming up on Thursday in St. Louis, and he will end up pitching against the Pirates, the last game of the season, and also pitching a game against not the Cardinals, but against the Milwaukee Brewers.
Correct. They've been doing that all season long. There are other guys that have been shifted around and given an extra day, but they've tried to keep Cueto on that 5-day routine.
Javier Baez gone swinging. It's a tough night for Johnny Lindo. Tickets in the month of September thanks to First Student. Cheer on the Redlegs. Enjoy up to 4 tickets at half price on select sections for Sunday through Thursday home games during the regular year. So remember that. It's Sunday through Thursday. 381-REDS, the number to call. Cueto charged with 6 earned runs in 5 2/3 innings tonight. In fact, the 6 runs, the combined total he had allowed in his last 4 starts before tonight. But now, of course, all of the focus and all of the attention is on the Cubs starting pitcher. The last Cub to throw a no-hitter was 6 years and 2 days ago at Miller Park, which is a strange twist. It was at Miller Park by Carlos Zambrano against the Houston Astros. That's when the Astros couldn't play at home due to Hurricane Ike, and so they moved the games to Milwaukee. 1-1 delivery. 1-2. Showed you earlier that Billy Hamilton, when Arrieta was working on a no-hitter, June the 24th is when Hamilton slapped it into center field for a base hit to break up the no-no. But this one in the air to left field. 1 out. And the crescendo will start to build once we get through this 7th inning, if he gets through this 7th inning.
And we were talking about Arrieta, Tom, and his time with the Baltimore Orioles, and it's such a remarkable turnaround. Sometimes a guy gets a change of scenery, and he really comes into his own. He was 5 games under 500 with the Baltimore Orioles. His earned run average was north of 5. It was 5.4. Here he is 5 games over 500 with the Cubs, a little bit over a year. And his earned run average with the Cubs is right around 3. Actually, it'll dip below 3 overall if things continue the way they've been tonight.
0-1 the count. 0-2 now to Pena.
Arrieta was originally drafted out of Weatherford College in Weatherford, Texas, just a little bit west of Arlington, by the Cincinnati Reds in the 30th round. But he didn't sign. Instead, he went on to Texas Christian University, TCU, and that's where the Orioles ended up getting him in the 5th round in 2007.
Frazier waits on deck. And here comes a 2-2 delivery to Pena. On the ground, this will be out number 2. Not only is Arrieta working on a no-hitter, he has faced the minimum number of batters in this game. The only Red to reach base was a leadoff walk in the 4th to Hamilton, who ultimately was thrown out trying to steal second base. Struck out the next 2 batters, and right on schedule here with 2 away in the 7th. Strike 1 to Frazier. Of course, the last time a Reds team was no-hit came in the postseason by Roy Halladay during the 2010 National League Division Series. Oh, and 1 to Frazier. Todd has struck out swinging twice. Showed you the numbers earlier. Arrieta, after getting 2 strikes on a batter, opponents are hitting .117 against this Cub right-hander, which is the 2nd lowest in the league to Clayton Kershaw. Now he's ahead of Frazier at 1 ball, 2 strikes. No-hit innings for Jake Arrieta at Wrigley Field tonight. Sports Weekly with Tommy Tuberville. Of course, the Bearcats will be getting ready for Miami this weekend. Find out everything what's happening on campus as well. Thursday at 6. Presented by your Tri-State Chevy deal. Well, it'll be 3 weeks in a row for the Bearcats playing in-state schools. They had Toledo. They blew them out in the series opener. They will play Miami of Ohio this weekend, and then next weekend they will go to Ohio Stadium in Columbus to take on the Buckeyes.
Be a very interesting game. You'll be doing that game, I understand.
I will be doing that game. I'm looking forward to it.
Good for you.
I'm looking forward to seeing this UC quarterback.
Boy, you're not kidding.
Gunnar Kiel, the most highly recruited quarterback in the country coming out of high school. He's a kid from Indiana. If I remember the story right, he originally signed with LSU, decommitted, went to Notre Dame, or Indiana first, I think it was. Then he goes to Notre Dame, and he realizes they got somebody there that's pretty good. Kid led him to the national championship game. And Kiel said, well, we're both freshmen. This doesn't look too good.
Well, maybe they ought to run the option offense with him.
And anyway,
he keeps his options open.
That's right. You better believe that. And then he threw, 5 or 6 touchdown passes. I can't remember which it was in the season opener. And a blowout over Toledo. 6 of them. Which tied a school record of Tony Pike out of Reading High School. Two on Valbuena. The story here, though, has nothing to do with a quarterback. It has to do with the man on the mound for the Chicago Cubs. You just saw him a moment ago. Jake Arrieta. 7 innings of no-hit shutout baseball tonight. Valbuena out of there swinging. Well, 30 minutes before every game, we bring it to you. Reds Live, brought to you by Ray St. Clair Roofing. Be coming your way one more time tomorrow evening from here in Chicago. Another night game. What's the furthest you ever went into a game with a no-hitter, Chris?
I think I went 6 innings, maybe into the 6th or into the 7th. Happened one night in Los Angeles.
So you're sitting there
against Rick Honeycutt.
You're sitting there on the bench. Rick Honeycutt, who, by the way, is their pitching coach now.
Yeah,
down in LA.
And he may have had one too. I know it was a 0-0 game.
When you're on the mound, I mean, you know the whole game. You haven't given up a hit, right? Whether it's the 2nd inning, the 3rd inning, 5th inning.
Yeah, you do. But in my case, I didn't think there was any chance because I normally gave up a lot of hits. I thought it was just one of those nights where, you know, I was a contact pitcher. I didn't have 8 or 9 strikeouts like Arrieta did through 6 innings. So, you know, I mean, it was a matter of time until somebody got a base hit, and that's what happened. You really don't start building the, in my book anyway, until you get to about the 8th inning. Then you're really, because now the fielders are feeling some pressure. Now the whole energy in the dugout kind of changes because, you know, do you talk to the guy? Do you not talk to the guy? Do you look at him? Do you sit next to him? Do you offer him water?
High and deep into left field, and Heisey will look up and wave bye-bye.
This kid is some kind of impressive Jorge Soler.
Got that body of a young Vladimir Guerrero.
Yeah, he does, and he's been compared to Guerrero too. But he gets his foot down. That's a pretty good setup and swing right there. Of course, he's helped by a pitch pretty much right down Broadway by Sam LeCure, but you still got to hit it.
That makes it a 7-0 Chicago lead.
Hey, we've seen some good young players in this division this year. Gregory Polanco, Don't know what's going to end up being with him, but he was impressive in the short run that the Reds saw him with the Pittsburgh Pirates. Of course, Oscar Taveras is playing outfield regularly now for the Cardinals. Got Soler here in Chicago.
Billy Hamilton, his rookie year with the Reds.
It's fun seeing these young guys coming up playing well.
You and I were talking about this, and we have many times through the years. It is far more exciting, and it's not to say you don't get excited if your team were to go out and sign some big free agent star. But it is far more exciting for the hometown fan when you bring a guy up from your minor league system that you have signed or drafted, you nurtured him along, you've heard about him along the way, and then you feel like he belongs to you because he's only put on your favorite team's uniform. Ran one account on Wellington Castillo. Full count. Strike three. Time to take a look at our AT&T fan photo of the game. Tony, thank you very much. And Border Patrol 8. One and one the count on Chris Valleca, who had one of the really big at-bats in what turned out to be in a 5-run eruption. It didn't look like that was going to happen, and it never happens against Cueto. Speaking of Johnny, Jim Day, I know you want to clarify what we were talking about right before the final out was made in that 6th inning in regard to Cueto's starts.
Yeah, I misunderstood what you guys were asking me. Imagine that. But Brian Price has said that he's going to stick with the 5-man rotation the rest of the way. The Reds have an off day Thursday in St. Louis, Monday in Cincinnati, so it will put Cueto on schedule to pitch Tuesday and then the final game of the season Sunday against the Pirates.
He's got to win them both. So that means Tuesday will come against the Brewers. Both starts will be on the home front. And then the season finale. Boy, how interesting that could be.
Well, you're not kidding about that.
That last day of the season, depending on where the Pirates are, you hearken back to what happened last year in the one-game playoff. A night that Cueto would just as soon forget. But my, oh my, would that be an incredible storyline if the Pirates had to go into the final game of the year needing to try to beat Johnny Cueto to get into the postseason.
Well, don't think for a moment that prior to that game, like about 3 or 4 days out, because I guarantee all these managers know the rotations and what they're going to face, and they're thinking ahead already, that Clint Hurdle, of all people, as a motivator of the Heat is, he will put his team on notice well in advance.
No question about it. Swing and a miss by Valeka. A solo home run by Soler. Here we go. Arrieta, 6 outs away from a no-hitter. It was 1-0 Cubs when they loaded the bases. Valeka with a 10-pitch at bat for a walk. After getting ahead 0-2 on Matt Caesar, he walked. And then a 3-run double by Chris Coughlin cleared the bases. A 5-run 6th inning. And it is a 7-0 Chicago lead after the home run by Jorge Soler off Lecure in the 7th. But the story, and the only story now, is that man right there. 7 innings, no hits, 9 strikeouts, 1 walk, 1 base runner. There was a walk to Billy Hamilton in the 4th. He was thrown out stealing. So here we are in the 8th. There has not been a no-hitter thrown in this ballpark since 1972. And they had 2 of them in that year. 0-1 to Jay Bruce. 0-2. Some of you may be saying, well, that had to be Ferguson Jenkins. No. One by Bruce Hooten, then with the Cubs, and another by Milt Pappas against San Diego. I said Bruce Hooten. It was Bert Hooten, who later, of course, pitched for the Dodgers.
You know, one thing the Cubs don't do is they shift on Jay Bruce. And Arrieta's really trying to pitch Bruce away. Now he's coming inside to him. And he backdoored him with a cutter. May not have been the spot that Castillo wanted it, but it was right on the block. This is the pitch that they've made a lot about with Jake Arrieta. Using it here in Chicago, not permitted to use it when he was with the Baltimore Orioles. Certainly haven't overused it, but he's mixed in tonight. Fastball, curveball, cutter, a bigger cutter or a slider, and a changeup.
Now Brandon Phillips, who is grounded to short and flied out to left field. The Reds have never been no-hit at Wrigley Field, and you're talking about going back 100 years. They've been one-hit several times, most recently in 2001 by John Lieber. Juan Castro got their only hit that night, and it's 0-2. ball is blasted into left center field, and a diving attempt out there by Caesar, but that will end the no-hit bid of Jake Arrieta. A one-out double in the 8th inning by Brandon Phillips.
The crowd here at Wrigley Field is not exactly a capacity crowd, but they have filtered in and it's gotten fairly full. And they have been biting their fingernails every pitch for the last 2 or 3 innings, living it right with Jake Arrieta. If you're going to break up a no-hitter, you do it with a solid blast. Brandon thought that ball was a base hit all the way, but I'll tell you what, Matt Caesar made it a pretty close call out there with an excellent effort. I think this is a good move by Chris Bosio to take a slow walk out to the mound and kind of give his pitcher a chance to regain his breath a little bit, kind of get back into the reality of where he is, because now, hey, you still have an opportunity for a complete game, for a shutout, for a dominant pitching performance. So you go right after it just as hard with this batter as you did the hitter before.
And how ironic it is that we show you the numbers. Arrieta ahead in the count of batters this season. Only Clayton Kershaw has a lower opponent's batting average against with 2 strikes than Arrieta. And it was an 0-2 pitch hammered by Brandon Phillips in the Reds' first hit. Now, you mentioned about a complete game. That is something Arrieta has never had in his career. So there is indeed something to be locked down on and focused on here.
Well, he's been ultra efficient with his pitches. This coming up as only number 89.
And one to Heisey, who's fly to center and rolled out to third. And this will be the second out in the inning. Out territory, no paraground delay. Ramon Santiago, the batter. Santiago's flied out to center and lined out to center. You know, it's really interesting when you look at the Cubs. It's another situation where you wonder, how can it be that long since? We brought up the Carlos Zambrano no-no. And we talked about the 2 no-hitters the Cubs had in 1972 by Bert Hooton and Milt Pappas. The Zambrano no-hitter was the only no-hitter thrown by a Cub pitcher since they had 2 of them in 1972. They had 1 in 71. They had 1 in 69. Both of those by Kenny Holtzman. Don Caldwell in 1960. And from 72 to 08, not one. Now, what also should be noted, the Cubs are the hardest team to no-hit. They have not been no-hit since a perfect game by Sandy Koufax in 1965. That's a long time ago. Like, the Cubs hold a major league record for consecutive games played without being no hit. Over 7,700. 3-1 on Santiago, only the second time all night long. And Arrieta has gone to a 3-ball count. The other time he walked Billy Hamilton. gets the first Reds hit with 1 out in the 8th to break up the no-hit bid. But what a night it has been for Jake Arrieta. Of course you would. Well, you can guarantee the opportunity to buy All-Star tickets by becoming a Red season ticket holder. And they have plans starting as low as $9 or under $9 per seat. Secure your All-Star tickets tonight. Calling 513-765-7500 or visiting reds.com/2015. Jake Arrieta will get a chance to finish what he started, something he's never done in his major league career. That's complete a game. 7 1/3 no-hit innings on the mound tonight. And now Ryan Denick will take over on the mound for the Redlegs, trailing 7-0.
Ryan Denick, you know, when you're a call-up in September, especially first time through the major leagues, you're treating this like a 1-0 ball game, not 7-0. This is not a mop-up job for a guy who's essentially auditioning for the 2015 season. Fastball, slider, occasional changeup, rarely if ever to a left-hander.
And from what you've seen, what do you think about this young man so far?
I like him. As long as he throws strikes, and evidently he does. He did down in the minor leagues. I like his attitude. I like the way he comes right after the hitters.
Fly ball to center field, 1 out in the inning. Well, the Reds and Fox Sports Ohio would love to send out a couple of happy birthday wishes tonight. Foster Ellswick, happy 91st birthday today. Hope you had a great day, Foster, or Mr. Ellswick. And also Bob McClellan from Huntington, West Virginia, celebrating his 90th birthday. He was a member of the United States Navy during World War II and was there on D-Day in France. Wow is right. Congratulations.
And thank you.
More importantly, thank you. Happy birthday. We had a little history lesson last night.
I thought that was very
for
impressive.
The Battle of the Bulge.
Your knowledge about the Battle of the Bulge,
no
right
question.
Off the top of your head. All I can remember about the Battle of the Bulge was the movie, The Battle of the Bulge.
You were talking about Teddy Savalas.
Yeah, Telly Savalas.
Telly Savalas.
Donald Sutherland.
Some people call him Teddy.
Close friends only.
Of course, we celebrate D-Day in the United States every year, never forgetting, nor should we, on June the 6th, 1944. 160,000 Allied troops landed along that 50-mile stretch to fight the Nazis on the beaches of Normandy, France. And again, you know who the main man was, don't you? Leading the way. Dwight D. Eisenhower. And something you never hear anymore, because few have the guts to say it. We will accept nothing less than full victory. This is a crusade for mankind. It's the last time you heard that. There's a fly ball into center field, and that will be the second out of the inning.
Is that Dwight D. Eisenhower's quote?
His quote: "We will accept nothing less than full victory. The operation is a crusade for mankind."
Strong words.
Strong. There's a leader. Jake Arrieta now the batter. Big round of applause, and rightfully so. He has been simply great tonight. To count. Denick trying to make it a 1-2-3, and if there's no activity in the Chicago bullpen, it comes as no surprise. The Pirates, by the way, have finished off the Red Sox. Opening game of that series 4-0. And you can rest assured the Milwaukee Brewers, who are trailing the Cardinals 2-1. And Milwaukee batting in the top of the 8th inning. Brewers a game and a half behind the Pirates for that second wild card spot of the National League. Good work by Denick. Reds will bat in the ninth. Arrieta will try and close it out with a one-hitter when we come back. Jackets as they prepare for this season with FoxSportsOhio.com's Rick Gethin on Twitter. Counting down to face-off on Fox Sports Ohio season opener October the 9th in Buffalo, home opener in Columbus. Boy, what a beautiful building they play there in Columbus. Nationwide Arena, I believe it's called.
That's
October
great
the
fun.
11th.
Those games are great fun.
Jake Arrieta went 7 1/3 innings of no-hit shutout baseball. Tonight, the 102nd career appearance, his 96th major league start. He has never had a complete game. 3 outs away from that tonight.
And they'll face a pinch hitter here instead of Zach Kozar, Jack Hanahan. He's been doing that all night long. Arrieta, that sneaky fastball anywhere from 92 to 95 miles an hour with a little bit of run on it.
One and two on Hanahan. Gone swinging, and that's the way it starts here in the Reds. 9th inning, 12th strikeout for Arrieta.
Now he has had 12 strikeouts on the night. Jake Arrieta has, and it all started at the very beginning of this ball game on the 4th pitch he threw to Billy Hamilton, a fastball that he blew Billy Hamilton away with. We'll make that our Cholula fastball flamethrower of the night. He has gone on to have 11 others, simply dominating the Reds with just about every different type of pitch he's thrown up there tonight.
The last time the Reds were shut out in consecutive games in this ballpark, you have to go back to 1946. July the 6th, 1946. Back-to-back ends of a doubleheader. They were shut out 2-0 in the first game in 12 innings. 1-0 in the second game. They were shut out last night on 3 hits as Donald Lutz will pinch hit for Denick and looks at a strike. And they've been shut out by Arrieta on 1 lone Brandon Phillips hit tonight. And 1946 is a Reds season we've talked about here lately, where they set the all-time franchise record for most 1-run losses in a season. 41 of them.
You know, Jake Arrieta is on top of his game tonight. There is no question about that. Tom, it really gives you to wonder. You know, when managers put together the team that they want to, you know, you have all your September call-ups. And tonight, Brian Price wanted to put together that team that would give Johnny Cueto the absolute best chance of winning a ball game, getting win number 19. And yet you got 1 hit out of it. Now, they didn't get very many hits last night. It was more of a makeshift call-up lineup that he had. But just in the game of baseball, you really never know.
You don't.
You can do everything you possibly can, juggle the lineup, give pep talks, have team meetings, take extra batting practice. Sometimes when you're facing a dominating pitcher, it just does not make one bit of difference.
2-2 to count on Lutz. Check swinging a foul ball. Our game tonight produced by Josh Hall, directed by Mr. Brian Hunterman. Our associate producers are Matt Sigafus and Lauren White. Reds Live produced by Kent Weaver. The coordinating producer of Reds Baseball is Bob Pennell, and our executive producer for Fox Sports Ohio is Tom Farmer. Like Joe Cornejo and Ethan Cooperson handling stats up here in the booth. And a 2-2 pitch. Double foul again. Of course, it is beneath Ethan to work with guys like you and me, Chris. He's always hanging out with, Phil Simms and Jim Nance. Sort of stepping down a little bit. That's what he thinks. I told him he's stepping up in the world.
I would agree with you. Maybe he's just referring to the pay rate.
That's a slam dunk. There's a swing and a miss, and the Reds are down to their final left.
After all, he is a stat man and a numbers guy.
Oh, yeah. Coming up right after the game and after every game, we'll break it all down. Reds Live coming up. Brought to you by Performance Kings Honda. Start number 96 in the Major League career of Jake Arrieta. 33rd since coming over from Baltimore. His ERA will now be under 3 in the National League, pitching for the Cubs after residing north of 5 in his career with Baltimore. And the batter, Billy Hamilton. And that is a foul ball. Strikeouts, not a single or one walk tonight. That team with Billy Hamilton back in the 4th inning. Tucker Barnhart batting for Billy Hamilton. Swings and fouls it out of play. Arrieta started the 1st inning by fanning the side. He is a strike away from doing the same thing here in the ninth. A one-hit complete game shutout for Jake Arrieta. The first complete game, the first shutout of his Major League career. He allowed one hit that didn't come until the 8th. What a game for Jake Arrieta.
Now, he showed it early on when he struck out the side in the 1st inning. And when you dominate the way he did, he may be getting the Reds at the right time, but he has been a dominant pitcher not once but twice this season against the Reds. And the Cubs will be looking to build a pitching staff around that young right-hander.
The last time a pitcher threw a shutout against the Reds while fanning more than 12 batters, you've got to go back to when Randy Johnson spent the last 3 months in 1998 with the Houston Astros. So Arrieta outduels Cueto tonight in a 7-0 final. We're back with more in a moment.